As you see, the lead is up to 7. With only a couple handful of games left. Your Hankook AL Central standings. The Guardians are good. They're going to be going to the playoffs. They haven't clinched a spot yet per se, but it is almost inevitable, which is why we're dedicating a ton of time to the Guardians. Let's do that right now. Progressive Field's going to be rocking if they get to host 3 playoff games, maybe 3 in that first round. It's been a banner year for reasons you might not understand. I want to dive into some categories that it's not the slug, it's not the on base, the stuff we talk about all the time. Look at the strikeout percentage. No team strikes out fewer than the Cleveland Guardians. They're first in the sport. When it comes to stolen bases, they're top 3. How about BSR? That's overall base running. They're top 5, a great base running team. And their bullpen ERA, 3.1. That's the 4th best bullpen ERA in all of baseball. Now, Chris Antonetti, Mike Chernoff, they've worked together in that front office for years. And look at what they're doing with a payroll that's tied with the Pittsburgh Pirates, essentially. $66.4 million invested in this team, which is the 4th lowest payroll. The Baltimore Orioles with the lowest, and you see what they're doing tonight, winning again. The Guardians are efficient financially and on the bases and on the mound, which is why they've been so good. This is a team we need to talk more about. So we know Shane Bieber's the star. He's won a Cy Young before. But Dan, give me a couple guys that have been pleasant surprises on the mound for the Guardians.
I'm going to give you 2 guys, the Alpha and the Omega, right? The beginning and the end. Let's start with Tristan McKenzie. His last handful of games, he's actually getting stronger as the season has gone on. Couple of big starts in the last week against the Chicago White Sox, and he stepped up big. His fastball plays, and it's got life up in the zone. 4-seam, 2-seam. They call them sticks. You can see why. There's not much to this guy. Nasty curveball. So he has a heater that plays. He has a curveball that he commands, and he has a good slider. His slider at times he has better command of the curveball. So a 3-pitch mix. Fastball, slider, curveball. He'll throw an occasional changeup. Look at the difference from 2021 to this year. The ERA almost cut in half, 3.04. What I like, look at the innings, 180 strikeouts, almost a punch-out per innings pitched. He's getting better as the season has gone on, and he's peaking at the right time heading into the month of October.
Is he game 2 in a series?
He's game 2. I think Bieber goes game 1. He will be game 2.
We know Edwin Diaz has been the best closer in baseball for the New York Mets, but you can make a case Emmanuel Clase is the best in the American League.
The coming out party for Clase, the All-Star game this year. 1-2-3 ninth inning, punched out the side. He has a pitch that nobody in the game has right now. A 96 to 99 mile-an-hour cutter. Nothing he throws is straight. He can throw a slider, but the cutter is an amazing pitch, Greg. And it is high velo, and it looks like a 4-seam fastball, which he does throw. So he has the cutter-slider combination. And I know what you love in the month of October. You love swing and miss.
Yes.
And this is very much the part of his game. What I like is he's the kind of guy you can bring him in traffic. He's a strike thrower, and when you need a punch out, he can get one. These 2 guys right here have come a long way in a short period of time.
I'm telling you, the way the Guardians are playing, if they are in a 1-run game, you have to like their chances.
And he'll be multiple innings. If they have to bring him in the 8th inning, they will.
And it's not just him. That bullpen has been terrific this year. Dan, thank you for that. How about in the lineup? We know Jose Ramirez is an MVP candidate.
Right.
Give me a couple guys that have been pleasant surprises.
Tell you what, coming on, Jimenez and Gonzalez. And I'll tell you what, I just love what they've done. Now, you talked about the front office. A lot of that has to be, you got to make a trade, right? They had to move Lindor. Mm-hmm. Who are we getting? Well, I'm going to go to Jimenez first because I want to show you what this guy has been able to do and what they saw. This is in the minor leagues. He was a defensive wizard. Catches the ball. We still see that to this day in the big leagues. When you're scouting a guy wondering, okay, we know we're going to get rid of Lindor, and you're looking around the big leagues, you're saying, around the minor leagues, who's going to be smooth, who can do it? He showed a little power. I wasn't aware of this. I had to go back and study him a little bit more because he was more of a guy that would put the ball in play, but not necessarily drive the ball. But it was in him. It was in him, and it's a matter of developing that. But I think what they've done is they've honed his skills to be himself. Here's what they saw when he got to New York. Whoop, rolling over balls. Mm-hmm. He didn't play every day, and he never got into his full stride. Then he got here to Cleveland, and they let him go back to being himself in the minor leagues. You hit some balls out of the ballpark, let it fly. If you want to be able to handle the bat like you can, handle the bat. They let him be himself. And Greg, he's utilized everything. Reminds me a lot of Cedric Mullins. I'll drop a bunt if I need to. I'll hit a ball out of the ballpark. But when I watch some of his swings and I really analyze him hitting the ball up the middle, we've seen a lot this week. He reminds me of, get this one. You've been saying this about a few people. Reminds me of Wade Boggs. I'm telling you, when you watch Wade Boggs' finish, look at the finish of these two guys.
That's a
and this
good
is
one.
Taking the ball up the middle, other way, being able to drive it, all right? But I'm most excited about this young man. Whoo! I'll call him Mr. Gonzalez because he is a man-child. I watched him hit balls, and I just want you to see the ball come off the bat. I mean, he is thunderish. Now, you can go back, and I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, he's Albert Bell. You know, go back to some Cleveland comparisons and all that stuff. If I am the Guardians and I get a chance to get my hands on this guy, I'm making one phone call because his future is so bright, his power is so unmatched. I call to him. This is when I first saw Frank Thomas. Look at how big he is. He's the big hurt, man. We now have the new little hurt. Because this is Frank Thomas facing Randy Johnson to hit a missile to right field. But I'm telling you, the ability to make contact, to know your strike zone, and have that kind of raw power, that's what Gonzalez reminds me of. He reminds me of a young Frank Thomas.
Well, Frank Thomas always had that one-hand finish and a really pretty swing.
Did you see the whip he had?
Gonzalez has a unique swing.
You don't see that very
It's
often.
very flat. And our other, I think Cliff Floyd said his barrel's in the zone for a really long time.
Yeah.
And I can't think of a comp to the way he swings the bat.
Yeah.
It's a unique swing, and it's worked for Gonzalez and the Guardians. Wow. And it's funny. Sometimes the best move you make is the one you never decide to pull off. They didn't go get a bat.
No.
Because they knew they had Gonzalez.
They had Gonzalez coming up out of the minors.
Right. So they didn't go get a guy because they had a guy that they already believed in. But the guy that's believed in all of them is Terry Francona. Yeah. And I'm wondering if this is the best performance from a manager who I believe is destined for the Hall of Fame anyway, with or without this terrific season. Is this Terry Francona's most impressive managerial performance?
I'm going to say yes, because I think talent-wise,
04, that was, of course, snapping the streak. They had some big names on that team.
They had some big names. And this division was supposed to have been the White Sox division. And when the White Sox had a chance to get the Guardians, they couldn't.
Well, and you're looking at what he did that year in 16, I think is greater than the Boston days. They were so loaded with talent. The only thing that held them back was the Yankees. He finally got past them. But when he went to Cleveland, I really felt like he put his touch on the team. He was able to, he's been able to be a chameleon. Oh, we'll play the power game with you.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'll mix and match. I'll do those things. Now in Cleveland, it's like we don't have the money. We're not going to be able to pay for these big sluggers. I'll put my arm around Jose and say, don't leave, please. Take this little bit of money. And he's been able, I think, really have his hands on the whole thing going on there. And let's not forget, he missed some time with an illness, too, and really battled back and wanted to come back because he knew what was coming. And I think anytime you've been somewhere for this long a period of time, and I always say this, the main relationship is a general manager and the manager. And these guys have been together so long in that front office with Terry right in the mix. They've built a club around, hey, what can we do? Well, we're going to have to put the ball in play, guys. We're going to have to change it, go against the curve. Everybody wants home runs. We're going to see what we can do. Put the ball in.
Fourth lowest payroll in the game. And here they are about to win the AL Central.
I'll be honest, when he left and took that one-year little hiatus, just stepped away from the game and went back to Cleveland, I was like, oh, man, I don't know if you want to do that, right? Like,
you're going to end your career like that?
You want to end your career like middle to smaller market team that doesn't like to spend money. Ooh, boy, I don't know. I get it. He's amazing.
He really is.
He's
I'm wondering,
Hall of Famer.
What will it look like when they pop bottles and they actually celebrate? There's one guy that I'm very concerned about. Because when he celebrates, when good things happen, he gets really wild and angry.
Don't want to be near this guy.
Josh Naylor, when they win the AL Central, what is he going to do? I mean, get out of his way.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean,
ouch. That's right there.
Man, I love that intensity, though.